fact that it didn't do what it said it was going to do.
I'll rephrase that. It did snow. It's just it didn't stick because I did see white stuff coming down at my house.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Down at my house.
Hello, everybody.
Hey there.
Hey, Lily.
Hi there.
Hey.
David, you win. I was wondering who.
Really, pretty good.
Just remember you are live. Well,
Oh, do you have to take the tropical background off for the live?
no, I just put that on there.
He knew we'd be entertained.
Who's gonna bring the goat next time? Should have Muzak or something like that playing before.
You could sing. You're on cable TV, YouTube live stream, and this right now. So
This could be our moment to become famous.
yay.
It's careful what you wish for.
We'll let you keep it.
Yeah. I'm happy to give that one away. That's fine. Well, a little coffee. At least that's a nice thing about the remote meetings. You can just get a cup of coffee. I mean, I suppose there's silver lining.
You're like multitasking, like starting dinner.
Yeah, right. Stirring the beans.
Off camera, just one arm's like furiously doing something.
Yeah. The hell you doing over there? Yeah.
Madam Chair, will we get to the point where we want to bring somebody else in for some of these agenda items? Make sure to give me a little bit of heads up because I have to click, work the magic.
Sure. Well, it is 6 p.m. Are we all ready to get going?
Sure.
So welcome everyone to the Lincolnville Selectmen's meeting. We are live on Zoom and streaming across the internet. Is that correct?
Correct.
It is April 27th. And as we stated at our last meeting during the state of emergency declared by the Governor of Maine, the Lincolnville Board of Selectmen, subject to the Maine Freedom of Access Act, may conduct public proceedings through telephonic, video, electronic, or other similar means of remote participation under the following conditions. I don't think I need to go into all of the specifics. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to any of us or at the town office. I would like to remind everyone that votes will be held by roll call and we will adjourn by roll call. Please be aware that any of your noises at home or comments could interfere. So we'll just try to take our time and make sure that we're not stepping on each other during comments. So let's see. Mr. Fishman, would you read the quote of the evening?
April distance brings May existence.
Excellent. Thank you very much. And David,
An unknown author of that quote.
I wonder if our town administrator came up with that one.
That's pretty good. That's a
I
pretty
did
good one.
not.
Ah, that's a shame. David, Kinney, do we have anyone who wishes to participate for Citizens Forum?
So far, all we have on the chat is from Ian Stewart letting us know that he is here. And I've let him know that when we get to, or when you get to agenda item 7, I'll bring he and Heather over as panelists. So no citizens forum.
Okay, wonderful. Then moving rapidly along to agenda item number 2, we have the administrator's report.
So things are going along relatively as smoothly as they can, given the circumstances. We did have, since the last meeting, a major snowstorm and then followed by wind rain event that we'll talk about near the end of the agenda. We have, I've been in touch with the planning board and the budget committee about arranging for remote meetings with those folks so they can get back to business. And I just reached out today to the other committee chairs to let them know that we do have remote meeting capabilities should they choose to meet that way, that I can work with them to survey their members and find out what capabilities they have or don't have and see if we can work a reasonable way to get everybody to participate, with the understanding that planning board and budget committee would take first priority just because they have either statutory duties or ordinance timeframes that they have to work within. So that's kind of where we are. And I think everything else is pretty much on the agenda that we've been working on.
Okay, excellent. Any questions for David under the administrator's report? Seeing a lot of shaking of heads, let's move along to upcoming meetings and announcements.
Midco Solid Waste Corporation Board of Directors meets on Wednesday, April 29th, 6:30. That's a remote meeting. If anybody needs a link, let me know. And the Board of Selectmen are scheduled to meet next on Monday, May 11th, 6 p.m. Again, a remote meeting. And one more thing under administrator's report that I skipped earlier. Isn't that always the way? I listened to Governor Mills' 2 o'clock briefing this afternoon, and apparently as of tomorrow, when she gives a briefing tomorrow, they may change some of the requirements. The Stay Healthy at Home order goes through the end of the month, which is Thursday. She kind of teased the crowd watching today to say that it's likely to be extended, but maybe not as extreme. That's probably not the right word, but as burdensome maybe as it is currently. but that she would have much more detail tomorrow. I would not anticipate a widespread opening of anything.
Okay. Stay tuned to stay tuned.
Yeah.
All right, let's move along to number 4, upcoming community events. Does anyone have any upcoming community events they wish to share? Seeing no one jumping up and down, let's move along to agenda item number 5. We have 2 sets of meeting minutes to approve. Do we have a motion for the April 13th meeting?
Mine says March.
Mine says March 9th.
March, sorry.
No, that's
Okay.
April.
Oh,
That's,
you're right, but it's,
That-
Okay,
you're right. It is April 13th.
okay, and what's the date on the second one?
April 15th.
15, thank you. I move that the
Aye.
board approve the April 13th, 2020 meeting minutes as presented.
Second.
We have David Barrows with motion, and Selectman Late with the second. And is there any discussion? Seeing no discussion, we will run down the roster one at a time. Selectman Barrows, what's your vote?
Yes,
Selectman Late, what's your vote?
Yes.
Selectman Garrettson, what's your vote?
Yes.
Selectman Fishman, what's your vote?
Yep.
And Selectman Dunn, yes. Thank you very much. And we have the meeting minutes from April 15th.
I
I
move
move-
that the board approve the April 15th, 2020 meeting minutes as presented.
I second.
Moved by Selectman Late, seconded by Selectman Barrows. Any discussion? Seeing no one jumping up and down. Selectman Barrows, what's your vote?
Yes,
Selectman Late, what's your vote?
Yes.
Selectman Garrettson, what's your vote?
Yes.
Selectman Fishman, what's your vote?
Yes.
And Selectman Dunn, yes. Thank you very much. And Selectmen updates. Selectman Barrows, do you have a update for us?
the only thing I have so far is Mike Matunis, the new administrator of Midco Solid Waste Corporation, started work today and everything seems to be going fine and on schedule.
Excellent.
Cool.
Selectman Late, do you have a update for us?
I wish I did. We've had no meeting since our last meeting. We do have, like David said, we do have a Midco Solid Waste meeting on Wednesday at 6:30, and there is a strategic and capital planning meeting on the 7th at 3:30, and I'm still waiting for a time frame on our governance committee meeting. So I have no updates other than we're going to meet.
Hey, that's great. That's a good update.
Yeah.
Selectman Garrettson, do you have an update for us?
Just a small one. I have received quite a number of emails and messages from residents in Lincolnville who are struggling with their internet and pleading with me and pleading and asking me to pass along the message to the select board for us to do something. I have told them that we have no control or power over Lincolnville Telephone Company. But I thought I'd pass that along. Teachers and students and just everyone trying to work and really struggling. And I'm not sure what we can do, if anything.
Well, and certainly it's a good thing that you're participating in the newly formed Internet Exploratory Committee. So hopefully some of that feedback can go into the process.
Mhm.
Selectman Fishman, did I step on you?
No. I actually, and Josh, you and I should probably talk on the side I need to get caught up with that because I was out of town when a bunch of that stuff started happening and the Corona thing came along, and I just haven't really gotten caught back up. But I'm happy to get back on that with you. And but I was just going to comment that it is it's been pretty spotty out here. I don't know what it's been. Josh and I are on the same road. So how's it been at your place?
It's been fine for me.
Yeah. I mean, it's okay here. It's just, it's really consistent. Sometimes it's, there's like a high rate of, megabytes per second, and other times it just drops off the mat and it's kind of random. But I imagine there's fiber optic up here. I imagine that if, for those that don't have that, it's probably even tougher.
Yeah, it's specifically people with DSL saying that it's dropped dramatically since this all started, which is what can happen when everyone's home.
Yeah,
and the load goes up. Yeah.
Well, thank you for that update. Selectman Fishman, did you have an update on anything?
I do not.
Okay, and similar for myself, no update to report. So David, we're moving up to agenda item number 7, and we have guests, representatives from Coastal Mountains Land Trust. And would you, while you're queuing them up, can you walk and chew gum at the same time and give a little bit of a preamble?
Maybe. Well, look at that. I made Ian pop up, except I don't see a picture and his mic is muted, but I'm going to bring Heather over too. So Heather Rogers, the land protection manager for Coastal Mountains Land Trust, and Ian Stewart, the executive director from Coastal Mountains Land Trust, are now joining the board as panelists. And Heather has her mic muted, so hopefully she can still hear us.
I can hear. I have my mic on now, so there's my.
And there you
There you are.
Great.
So you're right. I think we're ready to go.
Yeah. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks for joining us. So we received the folks from Coastal Mountains Land Trust reached out to me a couple weeks ago and have now followed up with a letter to the board, which I will just hit the highlights of because you all have it in your packet, but they very generously have offered to exchange with the town of Lincolnville a piece of property that they've recently acquired along Route 1 that reaches down to Penobscot Bay, which is a little over 4 acres in size, that was previously managed as a private park to the town of Lincolnville in exchange for the town's ownership interest in a 68-acre parcel on the Duck Trap River. You may recall this parcel that the town has an ownership interest in. Back in 2013, the town transferred ownership of 2 other parcels to the state of Maine along the Duck Trap River. We did not transfer our interest in this parcel at that time, but Coastal Mountains is interested in it, as are others, in terms of how it protects the Duck Trap River, which is one of our only remaining wild run salmon rivers on the East Coast anyways. And so that's the crux of the offer. And maybe I'll flip it over to Ian and Heather to expand upon that a little bit, and then we can talk some more from there.
Sounds good.
Heather, why don't you get it? Why don't you take it, Heather?
Okay. Yeah, David and I have talked a little bit about this possibility. We recently acquired the park on the Penobscot Bay, which has been managed as a park. So it has access to a nice stone beach, and it has volleyball net and horseshoe pits and picnic areas and paths throughout, and a nice parking area that's already established. And we felt like it would really make a perfect town park and provide additional access to the water for residents of Lincolnville and visitors. So it seemed like a great opportunity for the town. And as you know, we've been interested in trying to conserve the property on the duck trap for a long time because of its location on the river and surrounded by other conservation land, and the all the conservation benefits that come with it. So I don't think the residents of Lincolnville would see much change on that property other than, we might expand public access a little bit onto it, but there's already a nice trail that goes down in there. So I think otherwise we would manage it as it is now, and people would still be able to go there and do everything they have done in the past. Do you have anything you want to add, Ian?
Sure. No, just that, we came to own the waterfront parcel because the owner really wanted to get rid of it quickly, and we knew that it might take a little time for town process. And then as Heather said, when we looked at it, we thought, well, if we turn this into a nature preserve, it wouldn't have the same benefits it does now. And then Heather had the clever idea of saying, well, there's the piece in the duck trap that has the title issues, and maybe we could really, more than a swap, me, this is two good outcomes for the town. And I guess that's how I'm looking at it. It's not really a deal, but a win-win, and two things that I think everybody should, when they learn about it, would come to support. And I think the other thing that I did offer in a previous discussion was that I think were I sitting on your side of the table on behalf of the town, I would want to know about resources moving forward for the property as best as possible. And I think the Land Trust very genuinely would be willing to help talk and think about ways to raise some funds to make sure that the property is taken care of. And the most obvious one I know of is the Land and Water Conservation Fund, which is for public access funds for recreational infrastructure like this. But there may be other sources, the Maine Community Foundation, et cetera, other things that we can look at that we'd be willing to help be a part of a team to work on. So other than that, I think we're just happy to answer any questions if anybody has.
Ian, are lots M32 and M30 already in the conservation that are on either side of the subject property?
So there are, the original easement that's on the subject property was placed on by MB&A. That's the Penobscot Park easement, and then there is another easement 2 parcels north of that, on northeast of that. It's called the Duck Trap Harbor easement, that is really just a field / growing in forest at this point. It's north of the property that had traditionally been. There's a nice old rustic cape on it, and there was kind of a put in that, I know for one thing, the Life Flight swim started from that property, but just north.
Oh,
of
no,
that
I meant the duck trap property, the one the town
Yeah.
property.
The town properties are both conserved and under the ownership of the state. They were
Yeah,
transferred.
that's down. That's where the trail goes down at the bottom, like when on 52, or the dip in the road and you pull over and all that.
So if you go towards the ocean off the 52, there's this nice snowmobile trail, and that goes through all of these properties.
Yeah,
On the way
yeah.
So the 2 properties on either side of the town land are owned by the State Department of Inland Fisheries and Wildlife.
Ah, okay.
So it so
Right.
happened that there was a pool of funds there's a pool of funds that the state had for many years to do wetlands mitigation stuff, and we were able to work with the state to do a number of properties in the duck trap with that fund.
Yeah.
And John, not the entire corridor, but pretty much the vast majority of the corridor up both sides of the duck trap is either owned by the state of Maine, Coastal Mountains Land Trust, or the land trust has easement rights over, conservation easements over the properties. And then right in the middle of that is this 68-acre parcel that the town has an ownership interest in, that kind of fills in the blanks in the puzzle. Is that a good way to put it?
Yeah.
Heather? Somebody?
Yes.
And would that be the last piece that between the state and the land trust, that between what there and
There are, I think, to be candid, I think there are 3 or 4 other largish parcels on the river. There's one in 52. There's one down below Tanglewood. There's only 2 or 3 more parcels of that size that we're keeping our eye on. And we've had, we're pretty much an open book. We've had conversations with some families for 15 years, and we don't make anybody do anything. We'll stick around and talk to them when they're willing to talk about them.
And that extends from the ocean up to, what's the name of the pond I'm thinking of?
Tilden Pond.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that's wow.
Yep. I think it's 84% of the 250-foot setback is in permanent conservation right now.
Wow, that is great.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah, it's really cool.
I did send David Kinney a map that has a lot of the river and what land is conserved on it. If you could probably pass that along.
Yeah.
Well, personally, from my one point of view, from what I can see, unless I'm overlooking something I'm not thinking of, which has happened before here, this looks like an awesome. I mean, this is I'm on face value. I love the whole thing. I think it's a win-win for the town and the salmon and the river and everything. Land trust. My humble opinion.
Yeah, any other board members have any immediate questions or concerns that Heather or Ian could help illuminate?
I don't have any questions. I just want to say that I think this is just a great opportunity for the town. And there's so much infrastructure there that has already been built. Obviously, there's a little bit of upkeep to do, but this is an opportunity that doesn't come along very often. So I hope we really seize it.
I'll have to say that wife and I went down today and walked it and looked it over after I'd seen the maps and everything to see what it looked like. And I was very impressed. It looks very nice, usable. I'd say it would be a great asset for the town to have. I don't know what it's going to cost us to bring it up to code, let's put it, for the lack of a better word, to have it up to snuff. I mean, nothing's bad, but it doesn't look like anything's been used hard or much for a while. So it's going to need some touch up and upkeep, and would be interesting to know what it's going to cost us per year for upkeep.
Mhm.
The other
Kurt,
thing
have any thoughts?
I really hope that the townspeople want to jump on this. I really do. I think this is definitely, in addition to the town's infrastructure, that we should not look the other way. Like Josh said, this is something, these types of things don't come along very often. And I think it's a win-win for both sides. I want to move forward with this if we can.
Mhm.
Agreed.
Yeah, agreed.
David Kinney, you had something to say?
I was just going to say, and Kern touched on it, for the benefit of anybody that's viewing remotely. This, like all land transfers, requires a town meeting vote. So we obviously have a ways to go, but time to alert people as to what was going on so we could get about the other business. But just want to make sure that people don't think that the Board of Selectmen has the authority to do this without citizen approval.
Thank you. Yeah, for clarifying that. And just so Heather and Ian, you don't think we're ignoring you or anything like that, since we're not in the typical format that we find ourselves in. What we have done to cross all of our T's and dot all of our I's in the preparation of gathering of information and doing our homework on behalf of the voters of Lincolnville. Members of the board, you'll see we have a number of motions here, and the idea is to have utmost transparency and clarity in the process, and to include as many relevant parties in the town as possible. And so we'll work through those one at a time, and it will take a little bit of time given that we'll have to vote by roll call. Ian and Heather, I don't want to kick you out, but just know that the conversation, unless any other members of the board or our town administrator have any more questions or follow up with you, we're going to start wading through these various motions, and then, you know, David will follow up with you once the dust settles after, you know, the board's various votes. Do you have any other, Ian and Heather, do you have any other comments, questions for the Board of Selectmen?
No, I guess my only question is just let us know if there's any way we can help put information. And I know we'll be working with David, but to me, it seems most important that a townsperson has a very simple but clear packet of information if they want one, with maps and numbers and, you know, description of the property. So anything we can do to be supportive, but clearly, you know, you guys can develop whatever you want as well. But if there's anything we can help to add to that, we'd be happy to.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you very much. And I think you'll see from these series of motions, a lot of them will be inclusive of information that you'll be able to provide, and also just include you in the process as we go forward. So, okay. So if sorry, Heather, did you have something to?
Oh, I was just going to say thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thanks for bringing this to
Thanks for
the
coming.
town.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you for it's an exciting opportunity to get to work with a great organization and to, you know, further Lincolnville's agenda of, you know, as is stated in our comprehensive plan of conserving critical parts of our municipality. So to be able to work with a great organization such as yours is wonderful. So that being said, can I have a first motion, please?
I move that in
move that-
concept, the board approve of the proposed land exchange between Coastal Mountains Land Trust and the town of Lincolnville.
Second.
Second.
Moved by Selectman Garrettson and seconded by Selectman Late. Selectman Barrows, what is your vote?
Yes.
Selectman Late, what is your vote?
Yes.
Selectman Garrettson, what is your vote?
Yes.
Selectman Fishman, what is your vote?
Yes.
Selectman Dunn, I vote yes. Thank you very much. First motion. Second motion, please.
I move that the town administrator work with the town attorneys to prepare a town meeting warrant article that will seek voter approval for the exchange of town property shown on tax map 31 as lot 41 for the land owned by Coastal Mountain Land Trust as shown on tax map 17 as lots 63, 67, and 69, and pending any unforeseen issues that the article be placed on the annual town meeting warrant.
So moved by Selectman Barrows. Do we have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Selectman Fishman. We'll go down through the roll call for the vote if there's no discussion. Seeing no discussion, Selectman Barrows, what's your vote?
Yes.
Selectman Late, what's your vote?
Yes.
Selectman Garrettson, what's your vote?
Yes.
Selectman Fishman, what's your vote?
Yes.
And Selectman Dunn, my vote is yes. Thank you very much. Motion passes. Third motion, please.
I
I move
the
that- Go ahead, Dave.
Okay, I move that the town administrator inform the Conservation Commission and the Recreation Commission of the proposed land exchange and seek their concurrence with the concept.
Second.
Moved by Selectman Barrows, seconded by Selectman Fishman. Is there any discussion? Seeing no discussion. Selectman Barrows, what's your vote?
Yes.
Selectman Late, what's your vote?
Yes.
Selectman Garrettson, what's your vote?
Yes.
Selectman Fishman, what's your vote?
Yes.
And Selectman Dunn, my vote is yes, motion passes. We have a fourth motion before us.
I move that the town administrator prepare a cost estimate to restore the park to a condition suitable for public use.
Second.
Motion by Selectman Late, and I heard Selectman Fishman as the second. And can I suggest an amendment to that motion to include to also instruct the town administrator to work with Coastal Mountains Land Trust to develop and secure any grants or funding opportunities for the improvement and maintenance of the property?
Yep.
Is that select? Is that
As
So
Select-
moved.
select?
so moved as worded by the chair.
Exactly.
So that was Selectman Late seconding the amendment. So
What
Is
she said.
is there
Yeah.
any discussion? Seeing no discussion, Selectman Barrows, what is your vote?
Yes.
Selectman Late, what is your vote?
Yes.
Selectman Garrettson, what is your vote?
Yes.
Selectman Fishman, what is your vote?
Yes.
And Selectman Dunn, yes. Motion passes. We have a fifth motion in front of us.
I
Move
move that
that
the
the
town
ta-
administrator prepare an estimate of the annual cost to operate and maintain the park.
Second.
Second.
Moved by Selectman Late, seconded by Selectman Fishman. Any discussion? Seeing no discussion, Selectman Barrows, what's your vote?
Yes.
Selectman Late, what's your vote?
Yes.
Selectman Garrettson, what's your vote?
Yes.
Selectman Fishman, what's your vote?
Yes.
And Selectman Dunn, yes, motion passes. We have a sixth motion in front of us.
I move that the town administrator work with the town attorney to advise the board of any necessary studies or property investigations that should be performed prior to the proposal being presented to the voters for consideration.
I second.
Moved by Selectman Garrettson, seconded by Selectman Barrows. Is there any discussion? Seeing no discussion, Selectman Barrows, what is your vote?
Yes.
Selectman Late, what is your vote?
Yes.
Selectman Garrettson, what is your vote?
Yes.
Selectman Fishman, what is your vote?
Yes.
And Selectman Dunn, my vote is yes, motion passes. We have a seventh motion in front of us.
I move that the town administrator inform the abutting property owners of the possible proposed acquisition of the Coastal Mountains Land Trust property by the town, and that the property owners abutting the town's property along the Duck Trap River be informed about the possible transfer of that property to the Coastal Mountains Land Trust.
Second.
Second.
Moved by Selectman Garrettson, seconded by Selectman Barrows. Is there any discussion? Seeing no discussion, Selectman Barrows, what is your vote?
Yes.
Selectman Late, what is your vote?
Yes.
Selectman Garrettson, what is your vote?
Yes.
Selectman Fishman, what is your vote?
Yes.
And myself, Selectman Dunn, my vote is yes, motion passes. And we have an eighth and final motion. I haven't skipped one.
I think there's two left.
There's two left.
Oh. Apparently, I believe there are two number 7s in a row. Okay. Eighth motion, please.
I move that prior to any article be presented to the voters for consideration, that the town work with representatives of the Coastal Mountains Land Trust to arrange for an opportunity for the public to walk the property so that the voters of the town be given the opportunity to visit the site prior in advance of any voting.
A second.
Second.
Moved by Selectman Garrettson, seconded by Selectman Barrows. Is there any discussion? Seeing no discussion. Selectman Barrows, what is your vote?
Yes.
Selectman Late, what is your vote?
Yes.
Selectman Garrettson, what is your vote?
Yes.
Selectman Fishman, what is your vote?
Yes.
Selectman Dunn, my vote is yes. Motion passes. And the eighth and final motion.
I move that the community's gratitude be extended to Coastal Mountains Land Trust for bringing forth this idea.
Second.
Second.
Moved by Selectman Late, seconded by Selectman Barrows. Is there any discussion? Seeing none. Selectman Barrows, what is your vote?
Yes.
Selectman Late, what is your vote?
Yes.
Selectman Garrettson, what is your vote?
Yes.
Selectman Fishman, what is your vote?
Yes.
Selectman Dunn, my vote is yes, and the motion passes. Thank you both very much again.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you
Thank you
very
for
much.
coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And David, our town administrator, will be in touch with you folks as we move forward with all of this homework now.
Look forward to it.
If I can figure out how to do it, I'm gonna move them back to being attendees.
You guys, welcome to hang around, watch the excitement.
Thank you.
Thanks. Nice job
Have a
with the
good night.
technology, guys. Good
Thank
job.
Thank
See
you.
you guys. See you
Yeah.
later.
Take care.
Okay, moving along to agenda item number 8. We have had a previous discussion regarding septic easement on a property not adjacent to, but opposite of Norton Pond. And David, do we have a representative for the party?
Yep, Bill Lane, I'm gonna bring him over if I can continue to work this magic. Oh, there he comes.
Dum-da-dum.
Dun-dun-dun. I see his name. Bill, your mic's muted. And then he.
William.
Let's see. Hang on. Hang on. Bill, are you there? Bill?
Oh, he's unmuted.
I managed
William.
that. I managed that part, but he has to turn his own camera on, I guess. So.
Well, David, could you give us just a brief synopsis of our previous conversation, if you would be so kind?
Sure. On February 10th, the board, part of the board's meeting, Heather Hurst, who owns a property along the Norton Pond Road, and Bill Lane, her representative, came to the board regarding the possibility of acquiring an easement from the town for a possible septic system. The town has twice voted upon or given the board approval to grant these easements for septic systems, primarily for the protection of the pond. The board made a motion that I'm not going to bother to read, but a series of things that the Ms. Hurst and her representatives needed to do. They have done now all of those fully and complied and paid the appropriate fees. And we've had an easement drafted, which was part of your packet for tonight's meeting.
And he's
So-
actually asking if you, under attendees, he's asking to make William Lane a panelist.
Oh, all right, that would be a good idea. Let's go up there and try that instead. Sorry, Bill, hang on. Oh, yeah, that one. More analyst. That'll take a couple seconds. In the meanwhile, I'll delete Bill.
Oh, no, I've been deleted before.
Well, thank you, David. I do apologize. I've got 2 users because I'm hooked up through my PC, but I'm using Zoom on my phone for the audio.
Oh, all right. Maybe I'll leave both of you up here then, just in case.
So I think you've given a great précis of where we've been. Our meeting in February, we received permission, and then Natalie Marceau, our soil scientist, was able to find a location that we could find suitable soil directly behind her parcel. And I don't know if you would prefer to share that most recent map, David, or if we don't need the map up, or I could do it off of my screen.
The board has a copy of it, and I don't have it on my laptop, so I can't bring it up, but
Okay, no worries then.
I can allow
So,
you to.
Either way, it's up to the board whether they find that to be useful.
Yeah.
So I could try and do that. If let's see if I can't.
You're supposed to give me advance notice of this, Bill, you know.
I apologize.
No, I'm just teasing you.
Let's see. Well, I don't seem to have, within this Zoom, I don't seem to have
Perfect.
access to share the screen, so we may not be able to. So I'll just run over what the map does depict. So Heather Hurst owns the property at 62 Norton Pond Road, as well as the north side of Norton Pond Road adjacent to that property, which is map 3 lot 118, that currently enjoys a septic system easement on the town parcel, as do her neighbors to the east, the French and Williams property, and as does the neighbor to the west, the Jane Monhart property. And so the new expanded easement location fits neatly between the existing Monhart easement and along the southerly edge of the French and Williams easement, and connects back into the land that's currently benefits Hearst, that is the easement where the existing system is. So I believe that map is depicted, has been, description's been written, and an easement's been executed. Is that the case, David?
It's the case.
Okay. And then I believe that the other requirements were related to ensuring that the applicant cover the cost of the town in reviewing the matter. And I believe that has also occurred.
It has.
Okay. So we have also submitted completed HHE 200 for that design for the proposed expanded septic system. Excuse me, I shouldn't say expanded, separate septic system to be installed on this land that Heather Hurst would like to secure an easement for. And that design was prepared by Natalie Marceau, our soil scientist site evaluator, and submitted with the package. I believe you've got that as well. So with that summary of information, if there's anything the board's got for questions, I'm happy to answer anything that I can.
David Kinney, yep.
I just wanted to let the board know that we did not include the design in your packet, but the plumbing inspector looked it over and didn't see any problems and didn't see any issues of issuing a permit when the applicant actually filed for it. But they're not going to file for it before they have the easement.
Certainly. Questions from the board for Bill or David? I'm not seeing anyone jump up and down. Bill, appreciate you popping in and
I do have
providing.
one.
Oh, sorry. Yep.
At our, when we first reviewed this, I asked if the present septic system could be used so that we wouldn't have to have a second easement. I don't believe, unless somebody can come up with different information, that there is any dwelling on this pond with more than one easement. I did ask, and I'm sorry, I can't remember the person's name standing in front of us, but I did ask if the present septic system could be modified to accept what was described as not much usage on this garage. So is there an answer to that? Was there any consideration to that?
Yes, I can answer that. There was not an opportunity to fit another row behind or uphill of the first row of that system because it would extend the fill slopes onto the French and Williams easement area. So we had to find a suitable test pit location. So what I would present, and if you view the map this way, this is essentially the easement is filling in the pocket that is formed by the way that the Monhart and the French and Williams easements extend up into the town property. So this is basically just extending the back line of the Monhart property. Excuse me, I shouldn't say easement. I shouldn't say property, easement. So that it's the minimal footprint that we could utilize and meet this objective. The Hearst easements are immediately adjacent to each other. So you could view it as one easement.
Bill, do you mean like an expansion of the current easement to include the proposed footprint?
Correct. We've written the description the way that we were asked, so it is recorded at a different location in the registry, and it's more technically accurate to say that it's a second easement with a common boundary to the existing easement. But you could view it as just an expansion of that original easement.
Okay. Kern, does that answer your question?
It does.
Or clarify things, I guess I should say.
Yeah. Yep.
Are there any more questions or clarity to be that the board wishes to seek from Bill? I'm seeing a lot of shaking of heads. Does someone wish to make a motion then?
I move that the board approve and sign the easement allowing Heather Hurst to install a septic system on town-owned land pursuant to the authority granted to the Board of Selectmen at town meeting held on November 24th, 2008.
Second.
Moved by Selectman Barrows, seconded by Selectman Garrettson. Is there discussion? Seeing no discussion, Selectman Barrows, what is your vote?
Yes.
Selectman Late, what is your vote?
Yeah.
Selectman Garrettson, what is your vote?
Yes.
Selectman Fishman, what is your vote?
Yes.
And Selectman Dunn, yes, motion passes. Thank you very much, Bill, for attending and offering us that information, and as always, for your careful and thoughtful work.
Thank you very much. I certainly appreciate your time and your interest. Have a great evening.
Thank you, you as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, folks, moving along to agenda item number 9. David, would you give just a brief reason? And for the record, I felt like it wasn't necessary for a representative to attend.
But I see a representative, maybe attendee. So let me see if she's actually here and I'll bring her over.
Okay.
And Selectman Lay was just downgraded to an attendee.
Whoops. I guess I gotta move him back. Sorry.
Getting wild, David, getting wild.
Technologically challenged. Late. Sorry, Karen. Whoops. There he is.
So what we have before us for agenda item number 9, the Cellar Door Winery submitted a request for extension of license on premises. And welcome, Bettina.
Hi.
And would you kind of just give a real brief synopsis of this request? We understand that it's due to the unusual nature of things.
It's contingency planning, honestly, and I'm one of the people who believe that we are going to be in rolling efforts of social distancing over the next 18 months until we have herd immunity with 75%. I'm happen to believe that, which is, I think we're going to be working through this for a year and a half until a large percent of the American public is vaccinated, which means what is contingency planning looking like? And I think outside is going to look like relatively attractive space to people versus gathering inside spaces. So this was contingency planning to put some additional seating for a temporary basis for this season out on our back parking lot. I fundamentally think it's going to be a really quiet season anyway. But this is what the thinking is.
Excellent.
I think you're right about all that.
Mhm.
I do.
Are there any questions for Bettina on this request for extension of this license? Not seeing anyone.
Looks good.
jumping up. Sorry?
Looks good.
I-
Good foresight.
Yeah, I think that it's a smart request. So as such, can I have a motion from a member of the board?
I move that the board approve and sign the request for extension of license on premise as submitted for the Cellar Door Winery.
Second.
Moved by Selectman Barrows and seconded by Selectman Fishman. Is there any discussion? Seeing no discussion, we will have our vote. Selectman Barrows, what is your vote?
Yes.
Selectman Late, what is your vote?
Yes.
Selectman Garrettson, what is your vote?
Yes.
Selectman Fishman, what is your vote?
Yes.
And Selectman Dunn, my vote is yes. The motion passes. Thank you very much, Bettina, for popping in.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank
Good
you.
night.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Procedurally, we'll get that, oops, she's gone. I was gonna say, we'll get that signed and over to her. Okay,
Yeah, David, while we're still on this agenda item, how do you best want to accomplish that? Do you want to make the rounds individually?
maybe I'll be in touch with you each individually as to whether or not you prefer a socially distanced visit from me, or you wish to socially distance visit me. So I'll be in touch with each of you.
Perfect. Thank you. And so moving on to agenda item number 10, election town meeting matters. In the ongoing and continuing fun that the new state of things rests in with the pandemic, we have to switch things up a little bit. David, do you want to give a little bit of an explanation of what we have to do?
Sure. Well, the first thing is the state of Maine has decided to postpone the primary elections that had been scheduled for June 9th to July 14th. We typically piggyback, for lack of a better word, on that election with our local election, so we have a good turnout of voters, and we're not setting up and taking down and setting up and taking down the polling place repeatedly. So the suggestion would be that we move our voting, our referendum or candidate ballots to the 14th of July to coincide with the state's elections. And I guess that's the first thing. If that, you'll note I did put some information in the packet that's just general information put out by Maine Municipal Association regarding holding over, for lack of a better term, those that currently hold the seats. Seats on the Board of Selectmen that are up are Selectman Fishman and Selectman Garrettson. So they would continue into until town meeting election actually takes place, which might mean one additional meeting, but it would be the day before election, so we may not even have it anyways, but either way, they have the authority to act. So my recommendation is that we just, in abundance of caution, move it over to the 14th of July.
Questions for David on this? I'm not seeing anyone getting excited. It is what it is, and therefore, someone want to make a motion?
I move that the board postpone the annual municipal election and town meeting referendum vote to July 14th, 2020, that the board chair be authorized to sign the notice of postponement of annual municipal election and town meeting referendum vote to July 14th, 2020, and that the notice be posted in public and conspicuous places, and that open portion of the annual be scheduled for July 16th, 2020 at 6 p.m. in the Lincolnville Central School.
A second.
Moved by Selectman Garrettson and seconded by Selectman Barrows. Is there any discussion? Yes, David.
I just wanted to also bring out, which I didn't in my intro, but was in the packet, about the open portion being moved to the 16th, which would be the Thursday night following elections, which would be, with the exception of it being July, which would be relatively typical to our elections. I'm assuming, and I hate to use that word because we're in a very tenuous spot, that that the requirements of limiting gatherings will be loosened or let back a little bit from no more than 10 to something greater. We do have the ability, we've confirmed that the gymnasium is available to us on that date at the school, so we can have a pretty good crowd socially distanced if it's allowable to have a large gathering by that point. So I think at this point, for planning purposes, it's good to have the 16th on our radar screen. And all of this obviously is going to be subject to change should something happen between now and then, but we have to have some date to go on. So I think the motion's appropriate.
Indeed. Okay. Any further discussion? Seeing no further discussion, Selectman Barrows, what's your vote?
Yes.
Selectman Late, what is your vote?
Yes.
Selectman Garrettson, what is your vote?
Yes.
Selectman Fishman, what is your vote?
Yes.
And Selectman Dunn, my vote is yes. Motion passes. Thank you all very much. And every 2 years, the ballot and election clerks must be appointed by the Board of Selectmen. You have before you the list of ballot clerks. I am included on that list, and so I am going to abstain when we get around to it, just so you know. But I need a motion, please.
I move that the following be appointed as ballot and election clerks for the town of Lincolnville for a 2-year period.
I second.
Leslie, do you want
Do you
me
have
to
to
read
read
them
all
all?
the names?
I don't think so. Unless someone objects greatly. Okay, I'm not seeing any great objection. Sorry, who moved? It was Selectman Late?
Yep.
And who was the
Yeah.
second?
I did.
Selectman Barrows, seconded. So Selectman Barrows, what is your vote?
Yes.
Selectman Late, what is your vote?
Yes.
Selectman Garrettson, what is your vote?
Yes.
Selectman Fishman, what is your vote?
Yes.
And Selectman Dunn, I am abstaining. The motion passes. Thank you very much. And we have the town clerk's election or appointment. And thankfully, our town administrator, David Kinney, has volunteered again to be election warden. Can I have a motion?
I move that the board approve the town clerk's appointment of David Kinney as election warden for the July 14th, 2020 election.
I second.
Moved by Selectman Garrettson, seconded by Selectman Barrows. Is there any discussion? Seeing nothing. Selectman Barrows, what's your vote?
Yes.
Selectman Late, what is your vote?
Yes.
Selectman Garrettson, what's your vote?
Yes.
Selectman Fishman, what is your vote?
Yes.
And Selectman Dunn, my vote is yes. Motion passes. David, do you want to take this next component?
Sure. As I think all of you know, we have a vote tabulating machine, which really belongs to the state of Maine and is provided to us to use for elections. Unfortunately, the machine only has a certain amount of capabilities, and at the primary, there will be some ranked choice voting that will be utilized, and the brains needed to count that by the tabulating machine basically means we can't use the machine for our local elections that we could piggyback on with. So we rented a machine or leased a machine previously, and we returned that because we didn't have any need for it anymore. And with the upcoming election, I can see that we may have some challenges with getting a lot of ballot clerks to work. And if that's the case, that puts the burden on those that are willing. It seemed appropriate to lease a second machine. And if we leased it for an annual basis, we'd be able to utilize it in July, again in November when we have a presidential, and then next June, hopefully when we're back to normal for local elections, before we'd have to consider either renewing or just sending it back. I get a little concerned if we do things differently for voters. We try to make it as simple and straightforward as possible. So I don't like the idea of, put your state ballot here and put your federal, or put your state ballot here in the machine and put your local ballot in this box and we'll count it later. I think that gives people a little bit of distrust. I'd like to have as straightforward for voters as possible, and hence the recommendation to lease the machine.
Thoughts on this?
I think that makes sense, David.
I agree. I think that makes sense.
Gotta have it.
Yeah, makes perfect sense.
Agreed. So as such, can I have a motion, please?
I move that the board authorize the town administrator to lease a second tabulating machine on an annual basis, and that the lease funds come from the contingency account.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing no discussion, Selectman Barrows, what is your vote?
Yes.
Selectman Late, what is your vote?
Yes.
Selectman Garrettson, what is your vote?
Yes.
Selectman Fishman, what is your vote?
Yes.
And Selectman Dunn, my vote is yes. Motion passes. Thank you all very much. And moving on to agenda item number 11. We all experienced a really fun storm a week and a half ago. And David, do you wish to share the impacts from said storm?
Yeah, how timely, after I just asked you to spend a little more money on a lease, to come up and tell you, no, we shouldn't be spending any more money. But we, on the warrant, you'll see that storm where the power was knocked out by the snowstorm followed by the rainstorm and the wind. The town spent in excess of $31,000 cleaning up debris over the course of basically 10 days after. We were able to, for lack of a better word, absorb that within the highways and bridges budget, primarily because we have a small storm account in that budget. And then we had some savings from paving last year when we received some good prices for paving. So we're okay in terms of the budget and not looking at any overruns within that. The other concern obviously is we will have some loss of revenues likely from the current pandemic situation. I can see maybe an adjustment being made to state revenue sharing, because if the state doesn't get the revenue, there's nothing to share or less to share. So I've really looked at, excuse me, at asking people that work for us not to buy anything beyond what's absolutely essential, and kind of a little freeze. We talked about this earlier at one of our meetings, curtailing capital expenses, and people have been pretty good about it. And I thought we were going to be in good shape until that storm. But just wanted to bring you up to date that it was an expensive circumstance, and times are tight in terms of spending dollars that we may or may not receive between now and the end of the fiscal year. And while we're on that, I don't have a whole lot more to share on that particular item, but as time and the situation develops, we may need or want to once again relook at our or your budget recommendations. Right now, we're gearing up to have something go forward to the budget committee. We've posted the budget on the town's website, the selectmen's recommendation, but if things continue negatively, we may need to make some more adjustments prior to town meeting too. So just want to plant that unwelcome seed.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry.
Well, I suppose this is a seed to be planted in all of our memory banks for the next time
Yeah.
we have a conversation about contingency, right? So are you looking for any action at this time from the board, David, or is it?
No, I think that I think unless there's something that you're aware of that we plan for, that you're going to be heartbroken that we hold off on doing till we see where we stand financially, we'll just continue. But I think everybody, most of our year is pretty well wrapped up. We have to set up the harbor and stuff, but that's relatively minor. And that brings me back to administrator's report, where I was going to tell everybody that the pier deck project is complete. Selectman Late, Selectman Dunn, Harbor Master Hutchins and I met with the contractor on site to do a final inspection. All they had left to do at that point was pick up some debris that was still on the pier that was cleaned up this weekend. So we can put a check mark beside that as a job well done, I believe.
That's great.
It looks good. I was down there this weekend, walked it with my son. It's pretty good.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah,
Nice.
nice and clean. Looks good.
Yeah, he did a good job, and especially considering the poor hand of weather they were dealt. I'm impressed at the amount of time that they were able to get the whole project done. And am I correct, David, in thinking that it was a little bit under budget?
Well, he did it for the contracted amounts. Let's put that way.
Okay.
How's that?
All righty. How's our revenues looking for harbor use, speaking of?
Most of the harbor fees were required to be in prior to the current situation. So I think they look as expected, I guess, at this point.
Okay, good. Alrighty. Any other questions, comments, concerns on this particular agenda item?
I've got just one, which is tied to it slightly. I went down today and checked out the pier myself and looked it over, and I did a great job. I was very happy with what I saw there. I was not happy with all the gravel on the ramp leading down onto the pier. That's gonna go. I don't know if, when and how we normally do that, but that's just gonna increase all the wear and tear with every set of tires that goes up and down there.
We, that, all our cleaning activities got somewhat delayed by the same people that do
Yep.
our cleaning. We're on tree patrol, but the town office, beach parking lot, the pier, the sidewalks at the beach, and I'm forgetting something. I know I am. All that stuff is lined up
Okay,
to
beautiful.
be cleaned here, hopefully in relative short order.
Great.
Okay, thanks for the question, David. If there's nothing further on agenda item number 11, we have the treasurers and payroll warrants to approve and sign. And if you haven't taken a gander at them, you can kind of see the breakdown of where the storm cleanup expenditures came in, and you go see the line item for the pier deck and that kind of thing. So if I could have a motion.
I move that the board approve the treasurers and payroll warrants.
Second.
Moved by Selectman Barrows, seconded by Selectman Garrettson. Is there any discussion? Seeing nothing, let's have the vote. Selectman Barrows,
Yes.
Selectman Late,
Yes.
Selectman Garrettson,
Yes.
Selectman Fishman,
Yes.
and Selectman Dunn. My vote is yes. Motion passes. And does the board have any more business it wishes to conduct? Seeing nothing, can I have a final motion, please?
I move that we adjourn.
Everybody at once. Selectman
Well, that's pretty good. That was-
Selectman Fishman moved, and who seconded?
Second.
Selectman Barrows seconded. Any discussion? Seeing no discussion. Selectman Barrows, what's your vote?
Yes.
Selectman Late, what's your vote?
Yes.
Selectman Garrettson, what's your vote?
Yes.
Selectman Fishman, what's your vote?
Yes.
And Selectman Dunn, my vote is yes. Motion passes. This meeting is over. Thank you all very much for your participation. And we will see you in a few weeks.
Stay healthy.